Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Frustrated Grad Podcast. In one corner, that looks suspiciously like a basement, the black dude with bad news, your host, Zach Hughes. And in the other corner, calling in via Skype, writer, movie fan, wrestling fan, destroyer of Italian beefs, Tony Hoffman.
You didn't even watch the fight.
I did.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I watched the fight of the century, Bieber versus Cunningham.
Oh.
Yeah, I watched it.
The fight of the century.
Yeah.
The fight of the day.
Yeah. So did you partake? Did you enjoy the fight festivities last night?
Fuck no.
Why not?
I mean, I followed what was happening like online and stuff, but I wasn't gonna pay $100 or go to some bar or whatever to go watch it. Shit.
Yeah, because I paid $100.
Oh, you did?
Yep, I sure did.
Wow.
Right out of my pocket. I slid the bill into the little slot in my cable box, and
How do you feel about your investment?
Yep, it was totally worth it. The investment that I made, time of clicking on various links, it was totally worth it. Anyway, yeah, it was interesting. A lot of people, like in every Mayweather fight, they wanted to count him out, but I assumed what was going to happen, and it did.
He clearly had his strategy that he uses in every fight, where just let the other guy tire himself out, and then
just like
beat the shit up.
Especially the guy who has longer reach, you let him get his hits in while you figure out how to get close. Cause you got to get those short arms in there, and he figured them out, and then pop, 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 and got him a few
against
times.
a non-boxer.
Yeah, like, oh, he's looking so impressive. He's getting so much contact. It's like, sure, because Floyd is not throwing punches. It's like he's clearly filling this guy out, and his method was successful.
He's also 40 and retired.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a predictable outcome from my standpoint, but a lot of other people are just.
That's the annoying thing. These like non-boxing people talking about how it was so close, and McGregor, he really won those early rounds.
Yeah, it's like, you know what close counts for? Nothing, especially not in boxing. Like, I almost won on points if I didn't get knocked out. Like, well, you got fucking knocked out.
It's like they're both pieces of shit, but it's kind of overwhelming that people were like rooting for Conor McGregor.
Yeah, they were doing Olay chants. I didn't realize that was just like a generally European, like anti-American chant. I guess that's what it is. We just hear Olay, 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 Olay.
I don't
like the soccer chant. I don't get it, because like they do that for Sami Zayn. He's not even European. He's Canadian, but they do it for him, and they do it for Conor McGregor. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Just knew it wasn't for Floyd. I was like, that's clearly not for Floyd. Bunch of soccer hooligans. It was funny because like I even watched the undercard fights, half watched them, but it's like you could tell when it was finally about to be time, because all the celebrities finally showed up, because you could just see all these fights happening with rows and rows of empty seats. It's like, all right, like, these people clearly are VIPs and they don't give a shit about these undercard people. Like, okay, when you see all the actresses with their boobs out, it's like, okay, now you know it's about to be time for the main event. Mike Tyson just showed up. All right, now it's about to be time. So yeah.
Steve Harvey in attendance.
I didn't see him. One thing I did see, speaking of guys with bald heads, I'm sure this has to be a gift somewhere, but there's just this. All you could see, like in the hype, they were showing like between the undercard bouts. They were just showing like, oh, Mayweather in the back preparing, and all you can see is this white guy who's just massaging Floyd's head. All you see is like white fingers just rubbing up and down on Floyd's head. I've already seen a gif of like him rubbing his chest, but just like it's an interesting job to have. Like, oh, I'm Floyd Mayweather's head massager.
Not that head.
I've trained for 5 years just for this job. Probably pays very well too. Like
I'll take it.
Massaged Floyd Mayweather's head for whatever he's pulling down.
Yeah, he's notoriously stupid with money, so that's probably like $1 million an hour gig.
Yeah, he came with a backpack with like $5,000 in it to one of the press conferences.
Don't know why, but
yeah. So
don't you hate it when like whenever there are events like this, like the Super Bowl, some sporting event, and there's like a national anthem singer or like a halftime show with some pop star.
Yeah.
And then you have these shitheads on Twitter going like, "Oh, blank was the winner of the fight." Oh, I really love that they had that Beyonce concert during that football game and all that. So Demi Lovato sang the national anthem, and you got all these retards on Twitter saying shit like that.
Yeah, like there's a fight after this Demi Lovato concert. Fight breaks out at Demi Lovato concert. Yeah.
What did you think of Demi Lovato's rendition?
I was having connection issues during that time. So
much of the rest of the country.
I know people who like legit paid for it on Comcast were not able to get the fight in a lot of cases. I was like, oh, so sad for them. All I have to do is sit through this Spanish commentary, and I'm watching it just fine.
I just looked at it on like Periscope. I didn't.
Yeah, there was a lot of Facebook live streams of it as well.
Nice. I didn't bother trying to like find some illegal stream because it's like, I mean, which one is the right one, and like,
all you gotta do is follow on Twitter. Like, okay, this is what's supposed to be happening now. Oh, they're showing a fight from 2 years ago of Mayweather versus Berto. This is not the right stream. But yeah, so it was an interesting watch. I was yelling at the screen a couple times, like, finish him. I wanted blood. So yeah, my bloodlust was satisfied well enough at the end of the night. There was like a lot of obviously Conor McGregor did a lot of training to box for this fight, but one thing he wasn't apparently trained on was what not to do as an MMA fighter in a boxing match. Because there was like, I can't even count how many times he hit Floyd in the back of the head, or like threw down hammer fists like overhead. So like he had to completely repeatedly get reprimanded for that. And it was funny because I forgot this guy's name, but it was I think it was the Fonseca versus whatever I forgot the guy's name. It was the match, the I guess you can call it the pre-main event, the one right before Mayweather McGregor, but that guy won with a punch to the back of the head, and it was yeah, it was flooded with booze. So yeah, it was just like he was celebrating his win. All you hear woo from the few people who were in the building at the time. So like I was wondering, like, okay, it's gonna be DQ at some point, because there was like every round there was a couple of punches to the back of the head, hammer fists. But,
everyone forgotten how to fight.
Yeah. So there you go. There's the fight report from the Frustrated Grad podcast. Your most trusted name in boxing commentary.
The side of Don King.
Yeah. Only in America.
Only in America. Speaking of boxing, Taylor Swift has a new album out,
and people want to fight her about it.
Yeah.
They're calling it her stale, unsweetened lemonade. like there's a bunch of different takes. Like, oh, this is the Crystal Light version of Lemonade, or Country Time.
It's the piss version of Lemonade.
I'm upset that mine didn't take off. Like, this is clearly Sunny D to Beyonce's Lemonade, but so I haven't listened to anything from this album or whatever. But
The first song is called "Look What You Made Me Do."
It's apparently a Kanye diss.
Some thinly, pathetically veiled diss, but like some passive aggressive diss at the West, Kanye and Kim Kardashian. Yeah. That's where we are.
Yeah. So, beef. It's what's for dinner in these streets.
Undercooked beef.
It's unsweetened lemonade, undercooked beef. You know, I mean, the only thing I've seen from this is really that visual that looks like something from like the Beyonce Formation video where Taylor's wearing like some leotard type outfit with a bunch of let me not assume, but for the sake of this, I would say gays behind her, standing in a formation. Yeah. So yeah, that doesn't look like an original idea. That's for sure.
Lots of snakes. I remember snake imagery.
Oh, maybe she's okay. So she's not just ripping off Beyonce; she's ripping off Britney Spears as well. So everybody should get over it. Yeah, because you don't want to combine those two though, because you don't want to have all the Beyonce imagery and then do your rendition of "I'm a slave for you," because that might not go over too well.
I just thought it was funny that what she claimed, but that was in 2015 when Kanye, his Life of Pablo album, it was like some song on there where she called
Famous.
Yeah, it's called Taylor Swift a bitch, and said that Taylor gave her permission and she denied it, and
then he released the tape like, here you go.
Kim Kardashian released the tape.
Yeah. It was like, what are you dissing them for? This is something you were complicit in.
Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And of course it's selling like hotcakes, or it's being downloaded like hotcakes. I don't know.
How do you download a hotcake? I wish I could download hotcakes. That's like, I have had dreams of that. Like the dreams where some people have where they're swimming in Jell-O. My dream is of downloading pancakes.
People have dreams like that?
Yeah.
Is that sexual?
No, it's like some people have an Oedipal complex, others have an edible complex, and they just dream about food. So
Italian beef dreams.
Yeah, caviar wishes and Italian beef dreams. These are the lives of the moderately well off and hungry. So
apparently, like she samples the Right Said Fred classic "I'm Too Sexy" in this song.
But she's not. She could get a lot sexier. She's definitely not too sexy. She's not even close.
Her ass is like hotcakes.
So yeah, speaking of beefs involving blonde women, there's another potential beef that may be misleading from the start, but all this Amy Schumer stuff popped up during the week.
I didn't even know about this until you put this in our notes. Like, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give her a little bit of credit. So the initial story was that she was so delusional that she thinks she should get paid the same as Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, who each got $20 million for their comedy specials or whatever. But like an amendment, I think, was made to this story recently that she didn't ask for the same amount. She just asked for more because they had gotten 20 million. She got 11 million for hers.
Yeah, just 11 million.
Yeah, just a measly pathetic 11 million because she knows she's definitely more than half as funny as Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, which I
disagree.
disagree with as well. Yeah, it's like I was almost triggered by this initial story. Like, really? Like, it's not about because the original thing was like, oh, this because they're men. It was like, no, it's not because they're men. It's because they're legendary comedians.
Like, did
Like,
she imply that, or did the writer of the
I
article?
think there was a lot of like supposition at
Jesus.
play here. So I don't think they have any like direct quotes, but they know she asked for more. And I think they kind of filled in the blanks of being like, oh, she wanted the same amount. And this was because they were men. I think her initial reasoning was because they were men, that she wanted more to be closer to closing the gender gap, but
It's
doesn't
just
really
not as
apply in,
funnier.
yeah, it doesn't really apply in comedy specifically. I can understand acting, like if you're a lead performer in a movie,
Sure,
you
sure.
should get paid the same as the male lead. But in comedy, there's like a different scale.
Subjective.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, who's gonna get us more in terms of Netflix? Who's gonna get us more streams immediately, and not just like have a special that's just sitting here withering? Like, okay, we know if we drop a Dave Chappelle special, there we're gonna have millions of streams within the first couple hours. Same with Chris Rock, and there's gonna be significantly less with Amy Schumer. So I think that's how they're weighing it out.
Amy Schumer has a vagina. Amy Schumer talks about her vagina a lot. Amy Schumer also talks about her vagina smelling like farm animals. Amy
Yes.
Schumer talks about binge drinking and passing out. These are all of the things I learned while watching Schumer's The Leather Special on Netflix. Schumer is also a white woman who thought she was worth the same amount of money as Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock when it came to what Netflix paid for her recent comedy special.
I love how I love that first summary of like, this is what I know about Amy Schumer. She has a vagina. Talks about it. She talks about it smelling. Um, Also, even with those examples, it's not actually even, because it's not like Chris Rock get paid 20 million for a special, and Dave Chappelle just got paid 20 million for a special. Dave Chappelle got paid 60 million,
Yeah, I
and
was just about to say,
it's for
yeah.
three specials. Two of them were old. One of them was extremely old. So like, when you take that into account, Dave Chappelle actually got paid way more than both of them, cuz he got paid 20 million for a special he had in the bank for at least a year. So that means he got paid double what that one was worth, probably. So even with those examples, her scale isn't exactly accurate. But
Equal pay and the wage gap are at the forefront in Hollywood when it comes to pay for female actresses receive. Because if they really want to talk, let's talk about how much minority actors receive versus their male counterparts. It's also at the forefront of corporate America, which is kind of more important to Hollywood. But imagine anyone thinking that just because she's a woman with less experience, she deserves equal pay. That's not how any of this works. In
no.
a recent Variety article, the wage gap was discussed and highlighted was the pay Schumer was going to receive for a special, which bombed. Initially, Schumer was supposed to receive 11 million, but after finding out what Rock 40 million and Chappelle 60 million were receiving for their shows, both comedians who have been making comedy since Schumer was a teenager, thus making each more experienced. Schumer's team requested that she be paid more, and of course, she got what she wanted, even though it hasn't been revealed what the amount was.
Oh, there you
White
go.
woman privilege is a motherfucker.
Uh, like they really capped it off exactly right. Like, there you go. So I think she tried to clear that up since then. It was, by saying like, I didn't want the same, I just wanted more. So there you go. I feel like
So she
11 is enough, but
she posted
you
like
know.
some stupid picture on Instagram of her like naked with her tits covered with a hot dog. Hot dog. Thanks for chiming in on what you feel I deserve to be paid. I believe women deserve equal pay. However, I don't believe I deserve equal pay to Chris and Dave. They are legends and two of the greatest comics of all time. I would like to say that I have been selling out arenas these last couple of years, something a female comic has never done. That's a big deal to me, especially because I know I do my best every night on stage for the audience and they have a good time. I didn't ask for the same as my friend. I did ask for more than the initial offer. I will continue to work my ass off and be the best performer I can be. The reports of me demanding and insisting on equal pay to them aren't true.
You know the problem I have, and I just realized that now, with Amy Schumer in comedy is the same problem I have with Nicki Minaj in rap music.
I just hope that like Amy has like the money to fix her smelly vagina and binge drinking.
I hope so. Another person who's has been accused of having a smelly vagina, Nicki Minaj. But the reason I compare them is that they are like the de facto representatives of women in their field, but it's only because they don't have competition. And that's like I'm all for equal pay, but I don't think Amy Schumer is funny.
Yeah,
Like
in
just
order to
like
get equal pay, you have to be equally as talented.
yeah, and then it's just like with Nicki Minaj, just like oh I'm the best selling female rapper. It's like well it's because no there's not really any others out or they're not getting
No,
signed like that. So it's just like I support women, but not this woman.
no, exactly. And it's clear like why she's the best-selling rapper is because she has that look with the ass injections and the fake breasts and
That's
you
why
know
when people talk about that reality show chick Cardi B, whose song is getting played now, like, oh, she's not even a real rapper, and this is horrible. I was like, it sounds just as good as anything Nicki Minaj puts out. So
exactly.
whatever, like, why not? And like that's it's the people are picking up the wrong fight with certain people. It's like this isn't the fight you want. Do you want to what we should focus on is quality and not just gender in terms of these things. Like other jobs are pretty straightforward, where it's just like, okay, I do this, I should get paid this. In comedy, it's a whole other beast. Comedy and entertainment in general is not set up to be fair. So, it is what it is.
It is what it is. It's funny that you mentioned Nicki Minaj. I guess you could say her contemporary, Lil Kim, the
Yeah,
original Nicki Minaj.
yeah,
Um, she went on that stupid ass Hollywood Medium show to contact her quote unquote soulmate,
yes.
Biggie, even though Biggie was, I believe, married to
Faith
Faith
Evans,
Evans.
and also cheating with Charlie Baltimore. So, sure, he was your
Sure.
soulmate.
And I just love like the headline of this article from The Root. Lil Kim uses Hollywood Medium to contact Biggie. Would he even recognize his soulmate, quote unquote?
Of course, because they like plastic surgery wasn't even that popular in his time. It was like, oh, what happened to you? Like, are you dead too? Like, no, not quite. Uh, but yeah, so hopefully, she got in contact with him wherever he is. Uh, I'm not going to give a guesstimate to whether he's above or below, but I think it's not very nice to make a song mocking your rival who just was murdered by saying I'm going back to Cali. But I digress. um. Anyway,
Yeah. Are you familiar with the Hollywood Medium show with what's this fucker's name, Tyler Henry?
no, I was not aware of this show.
Or this
My
guy where he
my medium knowledge stops at Long Island.
where it always should.
Yeah.
He interviews a bunch of like B and C list celebrities, and he basically tells them information that you can get easily through a Google search.
Yeah.
And these celebrities are all like, "Oh God, it's amazing."
Yeah, it's like so he basically does the same level of research as Nardwar. You familiar with Nardwar?
Yes.
because they're always like, "Oh my God, how did you know this?" So they basically the same research team sends the data over to the Hollywood medium. It's like, as a child, he loved gummy bears. Like, oh, that's so true. How did you know? It's on Wikipedia. Uh, so it's a good way to get back on TV, I guess, if you're not relevant anymore, is to talk to your dead friends and family.
Fuck dead, fuck buddy. Uh,
Yeah.
Over the last several years, Kim's features has morphed into a totally different face. Gone is her brown skin replaced with a hue that doesn't seem human-like. Her nose and other facial features have gone under so much reconstruction that it's quite possible her so-called soulmate wouldn't even recognize her anymore.
I mean, if he's really a soulmate, their souls will recognize each other. Um, is that just a thing for female rappers? Is to just completely alter and replace body parts at will? Because like, uh, obviously, Nicki Minaj is also uh, has the fake breasts and allegedly fake ass, which is should not be alleged. It's
Yeah, yeah,
pretty,
that's alleged about it.
yeah, and and I think if you checked out what Iggy Azalea looks like now, you probably wouldn't recognize her either. Because on Media Takeout it says rapper Iggy Azalea releases new bikini pics. We already know her body is fake, in all caps. But did she get a new facelift too? She looks very Asian now. So,
That's the go-to fucking comparison. Asian.
Asian. Uh, she looks like an Asian woman. Oh God! Wow. Yeah, looking at the before and after pictures, it's pretty. Like, I don't get it. Like, of all the criticisms I had about uh, Iggy Australia, one of them was not that she had a horribly ugly, wrinkly, saggy face. It's the one thing you couldn't say about her. Now she just has that cat face that everyone else is getting nowadays.
Remember when Iggy Azalea was a thing? It was like the Rubik's Cube or Tickle Me Elmo
Yeah, it's gonna be
or
that's like a moment in
fidget
time.
spinners.
It's like, remember the 2000 teens? Like that's gonna be one of those. Cause I always wonder, like, cause I feel like the previous eras were very defined, like 80s. You know what that looks like. 90s is kind of vague, but then you could just like lump grunge in. Like, okay, that's the look of the 90s. But 2000s, it's like a little bit of everything because they kept all the old stuff and then added new stuff. But Iggy Azalea is one of those things. It's like, yeah, that's 20 teens right there. Uh, so there you go.
I love the 20 teens.
They don't even do those specials on VH1
No,
anymore, do they?
no.
All
And
those
we did our
comedians who used to be on like Best Week Ever, they've moved on to better things now, like
some of them
podcasting, like various podcasts. That's what
for
most
all the
of them.
great stuff.
Yeah. Um, hey, it is. We're in good company. We're among the likes of the smartest man in the world by is that's Greg Proop's podcast, and I think Paul F. Tompkins has some podcasts too. All those guys have some form of podcast or another, and Doug Benson has like 10 of them. So there you go.
Hardwick.
Yeah. I was shocked to find out that At Midnight was canceled because I actually liked that show. I had fallen off from watching it as consistently as I was, but I guess a lot of people were in that same boat. But I would have I would have kept tuning in every other week or so like I was, but now I can't. But
No,
you,
you can't.
but you know the show is doomed when it's called At Midnight and then they move it to a time that is not midnight. It's like, okay, you just don't respect the concept of our show anymore. You can't play At Midnight at 11:30. Uh,
I just remember like all those fucking hashtags and shit people would be when I would be on Twitter when that show was on, you would see all that shit
yeah,
on there like hashtag uh move turn a movie into a hot dog or
yeah, like uh, food based uh, food based fairy tales. The Princess and the White Castle Burger. Yeah. So
there was definitely some. The mute feature was utilized by me at
yeah, I
time.
was. I'm very sparing with my use of Twitter, so it didn't bother me too much. I would just every now and then I'd be like, "What the hell is this hashtag relating to?" It was like, "Oh yeah, it's from something from at midnight." I mean, it was at least it was something that used Twitter in a productive way.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times Twitter is just like the root of all evil.
exactly.
A dumpster fire on the internet, some people might call it.
Speaking of things that people used to watch, the MTV Video Music Awards are tonight. I had no idea.
I only knew because Gabby of the Gabby Show was going through
Gabo.
the whatever the theater that they're filming in and showing all the like cardboard cutouts that are placeholders for who's sitting where. She's like, "Oh my god, I love these people. Oh, 30 Seconds to Mars. I was such a fan of them since I was kids." But yeah, so I I will not be watching.
I will
Just
not be watching
just like
either.
every year in recent years, I will um, see what is trending or what gets posted on YouTube. Like, oh, this person fell on their face coming to accept their award, and I'll watch that. And that'll
I
be
did
it.
watch the year. I think it was 2013. That was the Miley Cyrus and Beetlejuice, Robin Thicke, and
Beetlejuice.
yeah, I think Justin Timberlake got some
Did you watch that
lifetime
whole
achievement
show, or
award.
did you just watch that?
Big chunks of it.
Okay.
No, obviously I can't sit through that whole fucking thing. You gotta change it at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I saw that part of it, but that's probably about it. Just like the whatever other year after that was Miley. What's good with Nicki Minaj? It's fighting with the child.
So you want to hear the nominees in the categories?
Sure.
Well, first off, the Michael Jackson Video Vanguard Award is going to Pink.
It's funny that they named an award for like excellence in videos after Michael Jackson, a person whose videos they refused to show
Yes,
for
exactly.
a long time. But yeah,
Anywho, talk about the career of Pink and her impact on you, Zach.
Um, I remember the time when she used to sound like a black person,
Yeah,
and
she was like
then
L.A. Reid.
yeah,
She
and
was like
then
a R&B kind of.
yeah, and then I remember she did the thing where she spun around from the ceiling, and then yeah, and that's my memories of Pink.
Yeah, she's like one of those. She's like, I'm glad she exists
Hmm.
because I like her message, but I don't. I'm not a particularly huge fan.
Yeah, because I think her career is like very inconsistent. It's like you can't be a Pink fan like you are a Beyonce fan or a Rihanna fan. It's like, oh yeah, Pink, she still exists. When like every 3 years or so, she'll put out an album. Oh, okay, there you go. It's like you'll be you can't hold your breath waiting on a Pink album.
Her music is a staple at gyms and Targets.
I mean, it makes sense. It seems like it would be pretty motivational. Something like a uh, who am I thinking of? Kelly Clarkson. Like yeah, this makes
Since
me
you
want to move.
belong.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like they're in that
I
league
want to
of
poop.
like
You could do it. Pinch out
yeah.
that turd.
It'd be yeah. I wouldn't mind hearing Pink in like in a public restroom.
Show that turd who's boss. Austin Powers.
Who does number two work
Work
for?
for. Who does number two work for?
Yeah.
Well, the nominees in the Video of the Year category
The
are
nominees are.
Kendrick Lamar for Humble.
You know, that song reminds me of like an old WCW theme song. Like every time I hear it, I think of like the Wolfpack theme, like Wolfpack's back.
Bruno Mars for 2K4 Magic.
2K4 Magic, 24 karat. As
2K4 Magic.
That's gonna be the next WWE game, 2K4 Magic.
Exactly.
Why is it 24 karat Magic? What about what the hell is the other one? That's What I Like, or he's got bigger songs than that on the album.
Is he so fucking generic?
He's one of
I
those
love you. I'll
universal
marry you.
performers.
You're my girl, but only one girl, not all the groupies that I have.
Nice summary of his songs.
I think
He's
I
somebody
wanna
who
marry
brings
you.
families together, like grandparents and little kids, like Bruno Mars. So he's like Pharrell if every song by Pharrell was happy, but like for Bruno Mars, that is actually the case.
Yeah, no thinking, no, don't. His music involves no thought. It's just
I mean, he gives the people what
happy.
they want. Like, oh, I like those old songs from the 70s and 80s. Like, well, I'll just do that.
Yeah.
He's like a cover band that you would see at like uh, some bar or something. Like, oh, he's doing all the hits. So there you go.
That's not a very ringy endorsement of anyone.
Well, look, you don't like cover bands or cruise ship artists? Like they give you, they're like a jukebox on
You know what you're
stage.
gonna get.
Yeah,
Nothing experimental, nothing challenging.
it's a
It's
human
yeah.
jukebox.
Potato salad, human potato salad.
Absolutely.
Alyssa Cara for "Scars to Your Beautiful."
Okay.
DJ Khaled featuring Rihanna and Bryson Tiller. Isn't that the song that with like Rihanna sings, but DJ Khaled gets he's the credited artist?
Yeah, if he's
Wild Thoughts.
maybe this can be the second year that Rihanna can win Best Male Artist because she won it previously with the song she did with Calvin Harris, like Best Male Artist Rihanna.
I'm
Oh,
saying,
Calvin
is
Harris.
that DJ Khaled song? It sounds like an older song.
Maria. That's the
Yeah,
song.
exactly.
It's exactly Maria, and they just take out the best parts. They literally remove all the good parts of Maria. Like you might as well just call it Rihanna, because the hook that they came up with for it was just horrible. Wow. It's like really.
He was stupid.
Maybe
Uh,
and another thing, like if you want to look back at what is a defining feature of like 20 teens music is lack of enunciation. I feel like that's a common thread. Because like, oh, what is that person saying? That's the common thing you can say about most music
I was
coming
reading
out
some
now.
article where they were talking about like actors, like they don't, you can't hear what the fuck they're saying in like movies now because like they like mumble,
Yeah,
like
that's a
director's choice or something.
yeah, that's a it's just
Like
a
what the
thing now.
fuck? God.
Because there's one singer, who's her name is SZA, SZA. She has a song. It goes low, long as we got low. And I'm like, what is she saying? I was like, oh, it's love. She's saying love.
Love is all we got.
And and I got her album recently. I was really prepared to hate it, but like in other songs, she sounds exactly like Amy Winehouse. So I was like, well, shit, I can't hate it now. Like, this is my version of Amy Winehouse who's still alive. So I guess I'm gonna have to keep listening to this.
Have you heard about this? There's like some musical artist that's like, she's not like an actual person. She's like some computer generated image, and she has like
Like
music on like
gorillas.
maybe like I forgot the name, but she has music on like Spotify, and she's like on like she's like an Instagram person, but she's not like an actual person. Like the picture of her is
Really?
like some computer generated image. You could probably look it up.
Yeah, that's interesting. It makes me
Yeah,
think of yeah, nobody will remember this reference, but do you remember Sita from BET? It was like this. It was a very badly CGI animated character, and she was like, she had her own show, and she like would introduce videos. But it was,
Vaguely,
yeah, I think her name was
vaguely.
Sita. But yeah, makes me think of that. Like, oh, did Sita come back and start a music career? Um, yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, so
Um,
those are your video of the year nominees: Kendrick Lamar, Bruno Mars, Alyssa Cara, DJ Khaled, and The Weeknd. For reminder,
yeah,
artist of the year: Bruno Mars, Kendrick Lamar, Ed Sheeran, Ariana Grande, The Weeknd, and Lord.
hmm. A lot of people I don't want to win that award.
Yeah,
Can't think of.
yeah.
Who. I
There's
just
just two people: The Weeknd and Kendrick Lamar.
yeah, I just go with my, I guess my default, and I'll say Kendrick Lamar.
So
Um,
he's not winning. Good.
yeah, yeah, things I, good things that I like don't happen, so uh, I'm prepared for that.
Best new artist: DJ Khaled. New artist: Kodak Black, Young Ma, Julia Michaels, Noah Cyrus. Is
Wait,
probably related to.
that's one of the Ray Cyrus kids.
Yeah, that's what I'm guessing.
Why?
And
Why do we need another one? Banana Montana.
Banana Montana, and another new artist. What's it? SZA or
SZA.
SZA? That
I mean, if you want to go for best new artist, I'll vote for her because like I'm listening to her album and it's just like mainly because of the similarities to Amy Winehouse. I was like, oh, this is what I would have hoped for Amy Winehouse, for her to get into more modern contemporary urban music. So it's like, oh, I'm enjoying this for that reason. So I'll vote for her. And DJ Khaled is not a new artist.
no.
Like his like one of his biggest hits is like what, from 3 years ago with T Pain. All I do is win. So that
No, but
does
she,
that.
but
He's
you
not an
see that.
artist. Period. Also,
No,
like,
but she now he's like a solo artist now. Back then he was just a DJ, and now he's a
what is his artistry? Like, what is he doing on the track besides
who the
doing like
fuck.
a horrible two step in the video, or doing a song that's called, it's a weird song that's called Nas Album Done by Nas, where most of the video features him just talking to this Jamaican guy about bringing people together. Some vaguely like, if you ever look up the video, just look up DJ Khaled featuring Nas. The song is called Nas Album Done, and find me a reason why this video exists. like explain this to me.
Now, cause we gotta bring people together, man. We gotta figure this out, man. We gotta
Yeah,
have some.
we got to come together. I forgot what the Jamaican dude was like. We got to come together and
Do what?
collab.
Have a
Like,
barbecue?
yeah, it's just like I don't understand what they're even talking about, and this is taking up too much of the video. It was like very weird video. Um, Also, why is the VMA still a thing when videos are barely a thing? Period. Let alone their association with MTV. Like, MTV doesn't play videos. MTV2 was supposed to be their replacement. Like, okay, you want to see videos, go to MTV2. Now MTV2 just plays
Martin
reruns of
rerun.
Martin and the Wayans brothers. So now where do you go for the videos? Like, you have to go into deep cable on Comcast and get MTV Hits or MTV Jams. And I'm pretty sure at some point soon they're going to just be showing documentaries about music eventually, and not
Well,
actual
this fall
videos.
they're bringing TRL back, and they're supposedly taking like a more music, going in a more music direction now.
I've been
So
seeing clips. Like, I thought TRL was on already because I know they did. They hired former Kiss FM Chicago
Chicago.
DJ slash Columbia College graduate and frequent. I call it IBS, but Chicago, the Midwest College and Radio Conference contributor Eric Zachary, uh, who I've seen him like actually hosting. I don't know if this is like, so I think it might be on already, but I don't watch MTV, so I wouldn't know. But I've seen him like talking to artists with, it looks like the old TRL said, of just a bunch of kids standing in front of a glass wall looking out onto Times Square. So There's your TRL for people who really missed that. But it always stood out to me when I saw like, oh, Columbia grad Eric Zachary, also because his last name is my first name. So yeah,
interesting.
Congrats to him for that. At least there's one successful Zachary from Columbia.
Best collaboration: Charlie Puth featuring Selena Gomez. We Don't Talk Anymore. DJ Khaled featuring Rihanna and DRAM featuring Lil Yachty, Broccoli.
I want to do Mama Broccoli. That song
Best collaboration.
Is so stupid.
The Chainsmokers featuring Halsey, Closer. Calvin Harris.
Oh, that's the worst song ever. I've just gotten that song out of my head finally, and they're gonna bring it back into consciousness. Great.
Yep. Calvin
Please
Harris,
don't perform.
Featuring Pharrell Williams, Katy Perry, and Big Sean. Feels.
I don't know that song at all.
Zayn and Taylor Swift. I Don't Want to Live Forever from the 50 Shades Darker soundtrack.
I hope they get their wish.
Oh.
Yeah, I did say it, but I'm saying.
And look at this fucking category: Song of the Summer. So
it's actually a category now.
Whoever wins this fucking category, what is that? The official, like, that's the official industry corporate Song of the Summer.
Yeah, I saw a video that was like a compilation of. It was a Facebook video of like, here are all the songs of the summer between now and 1958 or something. It was like, oh, I remember that one. Oh yeah, that one was horrible. It was just an interesting trip down memory lane.
I didn't like it, or I don't like it when once the music industry became conscious of like what a song of the summer, like instead of like it being sort of like an organic thing.
Yeah, it's not a democratically elected thing. It's just like, hey, this is a song they wouldn't stop shoving down your throat for 3 months.
Like they just picked a song and said, we're going to put all of our backing behind the song and force it to be the song of the, even though it sucks ass.
Yeah, because I remember one of them, I think, on this little Facebook thing was like, I Kissed a Girl. I was like, yeah, I remember that during the summertime. It was on all the time. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite song of the summer, but I remember that song playing every 5 minutes.
It was like this song of the summer was just a good song and people listened to it, and you know it became the song that everybody was playing, you know, at the beaches and at the parties and
yeah, because like I didn't ever. Yeah, because on that little clip show, like I didn't see any of the songs that I remember being the theme song to my summers. Like, because every summer I used to go visit my dad in Atlanta, so one of the songs of the summer for me would have at least been, "If You Don't Give a Damn, Go and Throw It Up," hey, or what was the other one? B.I.B.I. obviously is a classic, or I'm trying to think, what's the one by Crime Mob? Nook, if you buck, why? Those were my songs of the summer.
Well, the songs of the summer that they picked are Louise Fonzi and Daddy Yankee featuring Justin Bieber.
Despacito. I don't think I've ever heard that song all the way through, but apparently it's like, I think it's supposed to be like the most viewed video on YouTube now.
So it means nothing.
Yeah, nothing to me. Like apparently what everyone likes is like completely over my head.
I swear. And it's like these fucking white ass Justin Bieber and these other artists with these like Latin or Jamaican or like these
reggaeton artists like, whose genre doesn't even exist anymore. Like remember Gasolina? That was once a song of the summer, I guess you could say.
Racial appropriation.
Dame más gasolina. I was like, give me more gasoline? Why would you want that? Like, I guess you were on empty.
So that song, Fifth Harmony featuring Gucci Mane, Down. Camila.
I don't know that one.
Camila Cabello featuring Cabo, OMG. That'll be
not at all.
That'll be relevant 5 years from now.
I don't even know that song.
No, Ed Sheeran, Shape of You. Demi
Fuck.
Lovato.
That's it. That's the one.
Demi Lovato, Sorry Not Sorry. Dumbass name of the song.
I don't know that one either.
Shawn Mendes, There's Nothing Holding Me Back. That's your
Okay.
token country music song, I assume.
I think it's more poppy, but yeah, I think it's that goddamn Ed Sheeran one because I found that song like rattling around in my head, and one day I was like, "Yeah, it's the goddamn song of the summer." It's the one they've drilled into my brain using their subliminal techniques.
DJ Khaled, Rihanna, Wild Thoughts, and Little Uzi Vert, EXO Tour, Lift 3.
I don't know what that is. Is that English?
I don't know. I
Yeah,
assume it.
they're really hammering in that Wild Thoughts song. They must have paid a lot of money for all those nominations. But yeah, so I think that it's probably going to be the Ed Sheeran one. It's the most aggressively annoying song of them all, so that by default gives it a qualification of song of the summer.
Best pop. Best pop. Shawn Mendes, Treat You Better. Ed Sheeran, Shape of You. Harry Styles, Sign of the Times. Prince. Fifth Harmony featuring Gucci Mane, Down. Katy Perry featuring Skip Marley, Chains to the Rhythm.
Oh, that's that horrible song that was basically a takeoff of Sia's Jamaican type song. It was like, hey, this is a bad version of that. Yeah.
And Miley Cyrus, Malibu. I'm
Don't
not
know that one.
familiar. Not familiar with that. Best Hip Hop. Kendrick Lamar, Humble. Big Sean, Bounce Back. Chance the Rapper, Same Drugs. DRAM featuring Lil Yachty,
No.
Broccoli.
No. I would
Migos.
say, go ahead.
Migos featuring Lil Uzi Vert, Bad and Bougie. What were you gonna say?
I would say that I was originally thinking it was either Damn or Bounce Back, but Bad and Bougie has to be the one. That's like it's rapper actor Donald Glover's favorite song. He even shouted them out in one of his acceptance speeches for the show Atlanta. So it's probably the most recognizable of all of those songs. It's probably the winner.
And DJ Khaled featuring Justin Bieber, Pavel, Chance the Rapper, and Lil Wayne. I'm the One.
No, doesn't like Justin Bieber takes away its
All the
credit as a hip
credibility.
hop song. So no, not that one. DJ Khaled must have came out of pocket a lot for all of his nominations this year. Like, how much do you even have to pay just to be considered a new artist? There had to be some finagling involved in that too.
It pretty much renders this whole exercise useless, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it's like, wait, like, isn't this like his third or fourth studio album at this point? Like, new artist. What do you like? I need to see the definitions of how they categorize all
I
these
guess
people.
there's like the difference between him just being a DJ and him just being like a solo artist. Like, because they have him here as like DJ Khaled, then they just have Khaled by himself.
Or I know there's another artist named Khalid. They might be talking about that one specifically because there's a young black kid named Khalid, and DJ Khaled is DJ Khaled. But I think they're talking. I think for the most part, they're talking about DJ Khaled. But the other Khalid kid is the one who has the song. Send me your location. Let's focus on communication. So that's. I think his name is pronounced Khalid, but it's very close.
Khalid.
Yeah, because I think Leslie Jones had a whole joke about that when she was hosting the BET Awards. It's like, tell me the difference. You're DJ Khaled and you're Khalid, and then she proceeds to hit on Khalid, his album is called American Teen, which makes it extra creepy for this 49-year-old woman to be hitting on somebody who's a teenager. Anyway,
Best Dance. Zed and Alyssa Cara stay. Kygo
dance.
and
So
Selena
just a dance
Gomez.
that takes place in their video.
Like dance song.
Okay. I was thinking like, oh, like is this Crank That Soldier Boy category? It's like what dance was invented this year? Okay, best
Kygo and
dance
Selena
music.
Gomez, It Ain't Me. Calvin Harris, My Way.
Okay,
Major Lazer featuring Justin Bieber and what's his M.O. M, the O with a slash through it. Dumb fucking artist.
moo.
Cold
I
Water,
think it's pronounced
Moo,
moo.
Cold Water. Afrojack featuring Ty Dolla Sign. Gone.
I don't know any of these songs. I'm not an avid dance music listener. I always thought it was weird just the classification like dance music. Like, don't you dance to all music? Like, this is,
Adult Contemporary.
I guess. I dance to ballads. I dance to classical. Always make sure I'm dancing to the rhythm of the violins in all classical compositions. But yeah.
Best Rock song. Coldplay, A Head Full of Dreams. Fall Out Boy, Young and Menace. 21 Pilots, 21 Pilots, Heavy Dirt Soul. Green Day, Bang Bang, and Foo Fighters with Run.
I don't think I'm
Rock
familiar with
is
any of
dead.
those
Dead.
songs.
Yeah, I know, right? It's like, yeah, rock music used to be, rock and alternative used to be so big now, and it's like the
Yeah.
music industry. They've hitched their wagon to hip hop
And pop.
and pop now, yeah. Kind
Hip
of
hop,
sad.
pop, and faux hop, I guess you could call it in some cases. Um, I'm
Best Fight
I,
Against the System song.
okay.
Logic, Logic versus Damian Lamar Hudson, Black Spider Man. Uh,
Don't know that one. I might
the
seek it
Ham-
out now.
the Hamilton mixtape. Immigrants, we get the job done. Immigration. Uh, Big Sean Light. Alyssa Cara, Scars to Your Beautiful. Taboo featuring Shailene Woodley. Stand
Wait,
Up.
what? She must be just talking
Yeah, probably.
from the Divergent soundtrack, from the smash hit Divergent
I think these are like
franchise.
protests. Yeah, like socially conscious music.
They,
John Legend, Surefire.
I mean, if you wanted to pick a YA movie actress, you should have picked like Katniss from Hunger Games. Like
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence. She actually has the three finger salute. I feel like that's more popular than anything that Shailene Woodley was involved in.
I like a best fight against the system.
Yeah,
Uh,
like where's? I mean, I guess it's too old. But what about YG? Fuck Donald Trump. I feel like that if any
I'm about
song
to say,
had the
man,
title, like
they didn't have the balls to nominate
I
him.
think I think it's probably would have been lumped into
Fuck
last
Donald
year's.
Trump.
Yeah,
Fuck Donald Trump.
that's one of my favorites.
Somebody was
Songs
on
in
the
the,
bus, like I think that was like a couple of weeks ago. I had that on the radio. That made me laugh because it was like a mix of like white and black people on the bus.
I love that because a lot of people would echo those same sentiments. So I'm sure it'd be a bonding moment. But it's funny because for a while, when we first got into the rhythm of doing this podcast, like I used that the instrumental from that song, and whenever I was stuck and I didn't know what I wanted to use, I would just be like, okay, I'm just gonna use "Fuck Donald Trump" again. So there's a couple episodes that have that same instrumental opening up the show.
Makes me happy.
Yeah, it's a good
Uh,
stock song to go back to.
Here's an ironic category: best cinematography. Kendrick Lamar, Humble and as Dragons Thunder, Ed Sheeran, Castle on the Hill, DJ Shadow featuring Run the Jewels, Nobody Speak,
So that
Halsey,
Ed
Now
Sheeran
or
song
Never,
"Castle on the Hill," he was already preparing for his appearance on Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones
Yeah,
cameo that people got
that ruined the show.
pissed off about. Best Direction, Kendrick Lamar, Humble, Katy Perry featuring Skip Marley, Change the Rhythm, Bruno Mars, 24K Magic, Alyssa Cara, Scars to Your Beautiful, The Weekend Reminder, Best Art Direction for these videos that they don't show.
These must be like the categories that they air off TV. Like during the break,
Yeah,
so and so
yeah.
won for best art direction. Like really,
I'm
it's
not even
like
gonna.
these like
Yeah.
those unknown Oscars categories. Like, hey, sound designers, good job, but you're not gonna be on TV.
Best art direction, visual effects. You want to hear choreography?
Sure.
Dance, dance, dance. Kanye West Fade.
Just one
Let's see
person
here.
dancing. I mean, I guess it's all choreography.
But they got like 4 people nominated in the category. Tayana Taylor, Guapo, Jay Blaze, and Derek Bentley Watkins
I mean,
are
Tiana Taylor
credited.
is the one dancing and wearing a cat mask, which is extremely creepy. Like, so I know, I think that premiered at the last VMAs, which is weird that it's nominated for the following year's VMAs, but I guess it just meets the deadline. Because
Very,
a lot of people were
yeah.
tweeting after the, like, do I want to fuck cats now? Because it was a very weird reveal at the end of that video.
Ariana Grande featuring Nicki Minaj, Side to Side. Brian and Scott Nicholson credited
Okay.
for the dance moves in that one. Kendrick Lamar, Humble. Dave Myers credited.
All right.
Uh, Sia the Greatest. Brian Heffington credited for that. And Fifth Harmony featuring Gucci Mane. Down, Sean Bankhead.
All right.
There you go.
Good
Best
job, Sean
editing, he
Bankhead.
said. Yeah. So yay, we're I'm 33 and you're 32, so
One,
or 31.
32, and
October,
October 10th.
but either way, we're old.
Yeah, totally out of touch. And it,
Exactly.
like, I
I don't
never,
feel bad.
yeah, but I never feel that more so than when we do something like this. Like, wait, what are these? Who is that? Is that
See,
English?
I here's the deal. It's like I don't even think like some of these people like even I don't even think like kids know who they are because it's like the way that things are now with like social media and like Instagram and
Yeah,
Twitter and
like
like you
everybody can have their one artist that they feel like is the biggest thing in the world, and
exactly
everybody in the world is like,
like
who's
who
that? Yeah, just like,
it's very nichey.
I mean, that's what creates hipsters. Is like
Yeah,
when you feel like your thing is yours specifically, and it's the most important, and then other people latch on to it, and it's like, oh, this isn't cool anymore. Like that's how I kind of feel with Childish Gambino. I'm just like, wow. I'm like, first I was shocked. I was like, oh my god, they're playing like the one time I heard uh
Quinter.
the one time I heard the song 3005 on the radio, I was like, oh my God, they're playing Childish Gambino. Then I didn't hear that song ever again. Now I hear the song Redbone like every day when I get into the car. I was like, wow, this is crazy that everybody's into Childish Gambino now. And this album is nothing like any of his other music he's ever put out. So it's like, oh, I love this soul funk singer Childish Gambino. It's like that's not what he is, but it's just like all those people who like, oh, I love these new artists, Outkast, with their song "Sorry Miss Jackson." Like, no, like you don't even know what elevators is. How do you got get off of my bandwagon? Because that was the worst one originally when I heard people like, oh, this new artist Outkast, or even again where like this new artist Andre 3000 with his song Hey Ya. It's like, what's wrong with people? They can't do the slightest bit of research to understand something existed before they were interested in it. But you know.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like there was because like the music industry wasn't as like fucked up as it was now. Like you could go back to like 10, 15 years ago and like the artists were much more famous. Like everybody knew who they were.
Yeah,
It was
I mean, but that's the same time period you could look back to where it was like, or closer to a time where it was like everybody was watching the same
yes,
television events. It's
exactly.
like we had 5 channels and everybody's watching one of them. It's like, hey, MASH is on. I guess we'll watch this. Like if people had choices, then MASH wouldn't their finale wouldn't be one of the highest viewed things in history. But it's just like, hey, we had to funnel into one area, and this had the biggest name recognition or whatever, biggest buzz at the moment.
If you
So
go back like 10 years ago, to, like the 2007 MTV Video Music Awards, like the video of the year was Rihanna and Jay Z for Umbrella. And you look
yeah,
at you look at all of the people nominated in the category, like Justin Timberlake and Beyonce, Kanye, Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, like all things like, hey, we know this stuff.
You
But now
know,
it's just like this one YouTube star who has 1 billion views who you've never heard of. It's like, hey, they're nominated for Video of the Year. Like, oh, all right.
like
If you say
U2 and
so.
Bono and Gwen Stefani and Justin Timberlake and Avril
Yeah.
Lavigne
It
and
was the
Christina
elites.
Aguilera.
I mean, I guess you can argue
Eve.
like more people having more opportunities. That's great, but it makes us feel more disconnected, and it also at the same time serves to prove why the music awards are not relevant anymore. Because like, well, you're trying to funnel everybody's narrow niche interests into one category. It's like, well, I don't think this person's a pop artist. They're a dub smash slash emo contempo artists. It's like, it's, yeah, like what happened to ska? There that doesn't exist anymore. There was another video I watched. I think it was on YouTube. I forget what channel it was, but they're like top 10 music genres that don't exist anymore. They're like third wave ska, which apparently that's what Sublime and No Doubt and all those guys were in. It was the third wave of ska. Because apparently the first wave was in Jamaica, which makes sense. Second wave was apparently in Britain. They had their own version. Then third wave was all the U.S. people that we know. So it's like all this stuff is not going to mean anything in a
White
year.
Jamaican.
Yeah. Yeah, it was the original gentrification, original cultural appropriation, but we were all cool with it at the time. So that makes it okay. But when Taylor does, it's totally not okay. Wrong blonde. She's no Gwen Stefani.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, I have a shit story.
All right. Go right ahead. Was somebody else caught by leaving fecal evidence on a crime scene?
Uh, kind of. The headline reads, "Poop truck overturned in Cincinnati." The California Woods area of Cincinnati was smelling a little worse than normal this week.
All right.
A tanker truck carrying 6,200 gallons of shit water overturned on
Shit water? Is that
on
the phrasing they
they,
use?
they use poo water,
Septic water? Okay.
on Kellogg Avenue near the California Woods Nature Preserve in Cincinnati earlier this week. It was reported that the truck was en route to a treatment plant when the accident happened. The driver of the truck was taken to a nearby hospital for injuries sustained in the crash. The one injury his doctors won't be able to fix is the wound to his pride, having been the one who crashed a tanker truck of pool water
Just
and
keep
spilled
him
a
anonymous. Is his name released?
and spilled a thickened sludge all over the road. I haven't seen it on here yet. So I
Yeah,
assume it
I
has to
would
be released.
request to be kept
Like the
anonymous.
lottery. My
Yes,
lawyer will
exactly.
represent me.
My lawyer is the one who crashed the tanker truck full of poop.
Officials with the Metropolitan Sewer District responded to the spill and recovered about 4,500 gallons of the sludge, so that's good. The additional 1,700 gallons were diverted back into a sanitary sewer rather than a storm drain that would take it to the nearby Little Miami and Ohio rivers. A spokesman for the Metropolitan Sewer District told city officials that the spill is mostly water and not toxic or hazardous, being
That's
that the
good to
truck was
know.
transporting human waste that was referred to as a thickened sludge. The
Ugh.
claim that it is mostly water and not toxic or hazardous might be a little hard for local residents to swallow.
Phrasing. Yuck. Well, I'm just glad all the poo was cleaned up in a timely fashion. I wonder how much toilet paper was needed for that effort. But yeah, so luckily the driver seems like he was unnamed in the accident. I'm proud of them for their restraint with that one. Um,
Mm.
that would be the one thing I would be worried about is if I crashed a tanker truck filled with poo. Like, I'd be worried about getting poop in my injuries, like open wounds, like depending on how bad the crash was. Like, all I'd be worried about is as they're wheeling me into the hospital, tell me I don't have poo in my butt. Please
Poop in
check
your
me for poo
bloodstream.
infection. Uh,
It's inside. Let me
The
check
poo's
this.
in my leg. Yeah, that's a real concern. But
Hey, there's the TV show that's having its season finale
yeah,
tonight.
yeah, that'd be a good finale for this episode. So what do you think is going to happen? Will we see the ice dragon in action?
I don't know. Maybe a little too early
It
for
was
that.
funny
Maybe.
that it's like uh, a lot of social media attention was paid to this last episode, as with every episode. But I like the meme of the Night King with the gold medal for javelin, for throwing that spear into the dragon from like a mile off. That was cool. But it just makes me think of the fact that that entire mission in that last episode was a fool's errand to be polite. It was like all that was for nothing. It was to capture a white, to take it to Cersei, so she'll agree to fight with you guys. But it's like,
But you won't.
yeah, she's still not going to, and she's still gonna have her other motives. Like, yeah, sure, we're gonna go north and fight the White Walkers. You go first. Spear in the back of the head, knife in the back, whatever. Like, it's totally, it was a waste, and they lost a dragon for that. Like, you could have, like, if you weigh out the options, like, okay, we got this White Walker who could potentially decompose. Spoilers for the book, like they try this at some point in the books. They get the hand of a white, and it completely crumbles into dust before they get there. I don't think that's gonna happen in this case, but like that's a big gamble for what ended up being the biggest loss you could suffer as far as losing one of your weapons of mass destruction. So,
Do you think that Jon Snow and Khaleesi will get together?
I mean, he already bent the knee. I thought he wasn't gonna bend the knee until he was proposing, but he did. So now they're officially partnered, and they said the L word in the last episode, which made it a little bit too soapy for me. Because I think, was it Tyrion that said, well, he's in love with you. I was like, really? I think that's a little bit of a jump, but at the end of the episode, I could see saying that, or at least saying she was in love with him because she was so hurt by leaving him behind underwater, which miraculous save there. But
Yeah,
uh,
hypothermia,
yeah, like maybe that's the thing
frostbite.
about people from Starks slash people from Winterfell. Like they just have a different tolerance of cold than the rest of us, because like he was fully prepared to, I guess, make the same run that Gendry made, who was not soaking wet and freezing to death. I guess he was gonna try that in his frozen furs. Um,
Yeah,
but
thanks, Uncle.
yeah,
Thanks, Uncle.
yeah, Uncle Cold Hands, uh, aka Benjen Stark, sacrificed
R.I.P.
himself, like Deus Ex Machina or Uncle Ex Machina or whatever you want to call it. Just shows up at the nick of time to sacrifice himself. Um, but yeah, so you could see maybe the love connection at the end of it, but
This
at some point,
2 hour fucking movie that we're
yeah,
gonna watch tonight.
yeah. So at some point, maybe during that, Sam will finally arrive from the Citadel, because apparently Sam doesn't have the warp drive that everybody else on the show seems to have, where they
Time
can travel
travel.
at the speed of light. I do like how they tried to explain it at last week's episode when Sansa said John has been gone for weeks, but it's like, well, it doesn't feel like that. It just feels like he leaves and gets to the next place within like 5 minutes and gets back another 5 minutes later. So she tried to explain it away, like, oh, I've been manning the fort for like over a month now, I guess you could say.
And
But
also, like, we're supposed to assume that, like, showing Cersei this White Walker,
yeah,
this
it's
is
gonna
gonna convince
convince,
her.
like,
This person that destroyed an entire church and killed like
yeah, like
her.
even if they are real, she's very short-sighted. So she's just gonna, she would probably just assume like, okay, maybe they are a threat, but I can still kill you first and worry about them later. That's probably, like, she probably would just assume like, okay, we do have this legitimate threat, even with that in mind, I'm still evil Cersei. So I'm going to kill you, take your army, and I'm still going to accomplish the goal you wanted us to do together. I'm going to just do it myself. So this is a total fool's errand. Just like the dumbest plan we've seen in this series, I think. Tyrion's had a lot of bad plans, but
I swear.
Jon took the cake with this one. He leaves out with a suicide squad that looks like it's only 7 people, but surprise, there's like 11 of them, so that a bunch of red shirts can get killed in last week's episode.
And you can't tell like who's dead because everyone's got all that shit on. And
yeah, because it was like they left in the episode before that, and you saw it's just like it looked like 7 people, and they were all like characters whose names we know. And then at the beginning of the next episode, there's like 12. Like, wait, where'd all these guys go? They must all ran out the last second. Like, oh, don't forget about me. It's like, okay, sure. So they show up just in time to get eaten by White Walker bears and get pushed out into a horde of not zombies / zombies. Because like the weird thing also is that they weren't acting like zombies at all. They were just acting like undead soldiers because they wanted to stab and hurt people with weapons rather than eating them up. But then the guy that Jon accidentally pushes into the pile, they actually just tear him apart like a horde of zombies. I was like, oh, that's different. Like, why are the other ones doing it? They weren't like eating him, but I think they actually did like tear his arms and legs off.
Yeah, rip him, kill him.
So I was like, okay, they zombie when they want to, I guess.
What do you think is gonna happen with the Littlefinger and Sansa and Arya?
I think he's gonna put that little finger too close to the fire and then get burnt.
Yeah, everyone's assuming that he's gonna get killed tonight.
It has to happen at some point. I feel like it's probably not gonna happen during this episode. They may finally wake up and clue into his plan, but like he said, he sees all possibilities of all things. So in one version of his reality, he's seen his plan go sideways and he has his escape route. Because I feel like in the grand scheme of things, you look at what happened at the beginning, Littlefinger is the one who kicked off the entire Game of Thrones. Like, he killed, like, history lesson, he killed Jon Arryn, who I think is a character we never saw, who was the original Hand of the King, who was Ned Stark's best friend. That's what ends up sending Ned Stark to King's Landing, where he ends up never coming home. And that kicked off all of this stuff. So I feel like somebody who had that much foresight to get rid of a guy he didn't like and to basically start an entire war because he wanted to fuck this dude's wife, I feel like he has a little bit more foresight than to have these 2 girls kill him. So yeah. So I feel like he's probably like an end game boss or somebody who's going to be like the hand of the queen at the very end and then be plotting his way to take the throne for himself, because he makes little steps forward. Like, he was originally just a guy who owned a whorehouse and now he's warden of the Vale, basically one of the, if they were all separate kingdoms, he'd be one of the 7 kings. So he made that much progress. He's going to keep moving forward.
What happened to the Greyjoys? The crazy uncle?
Yeah, they totally just like disappeared for the past couple episodes. I mean, we even saw like the Lannisters weren't in last week's episode, so I'm assuming we're gonna see everybody in this episode. We have enough time, that's for sure. Yeah, we're gonna see whatever happens with Theon. Maybe he'll finally get his sister back and redeem himself, and maybe kill his uncle in the process.
What happened to the one, the Sand sister that was dying and like?
I don't think we're ever gonna see them again, because like, there's no way the mother is gonna escape, and the daughter has been poisoned, so she's just dead, rotting in front of her, like Cersei wanted. So I think that was the end of their chapter, because I think there was even an interview with whoever Alaria saying Mama Sand Snake. I think she basically confirmed that she finished filming at that point. So I think that's a closed chapter. Just like the shame woman, when she closed the door on him and the in the mountain. We never saw her again. So once that door closes, the screaming is all you're gonna hear from these characters, and that's it.
So where's Sam? Sam left, and he's
He left the
gonna go.
Citadel. I think he's probably gonna head to. I mean, he doesn't have a direction because he doesn't know exactly where John is. I'm assuming he'll probably head towards Winterfell. So maybe he'll finally get there. Hopefully, John will be there at the same time where he could be like, "Hey, John, my girlfriend read something. I wasn't really paying attention, but it sounded like it had something to do with your dad. Like, oh, Ned Stark. Like, no, your real dad. Um, it turns out you're not a bastard at all, John. You're a legitimate Stark. No, stop interrupting me. A legitimate Targaryen." Dun dun dun. Anyway.
Sam is still unaware that his father and brother were burned to death.
Yeah, that was so shitty. By the way, they were just like immediately after he left the room, like,
I didn't have the heart to
isn't
tell him.
isn't he the one whose father and brother were just burnt alive? Like, yeah, I haven't told him yet. Now he'll never know. Like he'll be happy about one, but not so happy about his brother Dickon.
What?
Rickon? No, Dickon. I love that they just kept going back to that. Rickon? No, Dickon. Because Rickon is actually one of the Starks, I think. Rickon was the one who didn't know how to run Serpentine, I think.
Yeah, zigzag.
Yeah.
Zigzag.
He went to the Prometheus school of running away from things. But yeah, so that's Game of Thrones. We're gonna get that finale tonight. I'm excited.
Finish.
Yeah, it's funny because like I enjoyed last week's episode so much, but at the same time I realized how stupid everyone was for being in this situation. But you know, it makes it more realistic. Like, oh, this plan is completely horrible, but the action is stupendous.
But the action is fabulous.
Yeah, it's like it was a good idea to take all the dragons if you were going to eliminate the White Walkers at that moment, because you probably could have. She had a coordinated attack and they actually attacked the bosses, because there's only like 4 main White Walkers, and as we've learned, like if you killed them, their entire army would just fall apart. So, but our Khaleesi didn't get that memo because John had only just found that out himself. So
was like Jorah, was he like the only one that had like the dragon glass, and like everybody else was
he just stabbed that
weapons?
bear with one piece and then it was like never came into play again. I mean, I guess they were still in the middle of mining it, and then what was it? They got word about I mean, I guess they decided that was their plan to go capture one. So they weren't ready for the full attack. So I think they weren't even finished mining it yet, I guess. Okay. Which was not smart, because they should have gotten enough to make a bunch of weapons. Since they now have Gendry, they should have stopped at Winterfell like, hey Gendry, you're good with making weapons. Make us a bunch of dragon glass weapons. And then they should have proceeded on their mission. But, you know, time is of the essence, except when you need to get somewhere immediately. So there you go.
There you go.
It apparently takes them so long to travel. They should have thought about this along the way. Like, hey, you know, we probably should have got more dragon glass. Let's turn around. Like Jorah's like, well, I have this one shard right here. It's like, oh, you know what? That's probably enough. Let's keep going.
That'll do it.
It's not like we're gonna run into some kind of giant dead creature that we're gonna lose our one precious shard of dragon glass on. That would totally not happen. Also, like there's so many of those situations, just like speed. Like, go back and send a raven to Daenerys and tell her to come save us. Raven gets there immediately. The Daenerys gets there right after that. It's like they might as well just have cell phones, because these ravens are. I can get in touch with somebody via Raven faster than I could call Comcast customer support. So maybe our technology is putting us back. So yeah. with that, we can wrap up. If there's nothing else you want to talk about for this week.
Did you watch SmackDown and see Bobby Roode's debut?
Yeah, it was glorious. Actually, I mean, he fought a jobber, so that doesn't really speak too well of what his placement on the card is going to be. Even though Aiden English, Chicago guy, I'm hoping for good things for him, but
God, why?
it's not a very good placement for a debuting guy who's pretty over in NXT.
Oh, you didn't want him to just have like squash matches?
I mean, squash matches I don't think really get anybody over. Like Braun Strowman was having squash matches forever, and then he didn't really actually start getting over until pretty much this feud with Roman Reigns. So, like, I think it's kind of like spinning your wheels. Like they even gave Bailey squash matches at one point. That was like the worst thing you could do for like a underdog character. So
facing underdog.
Yeah. So hopefully they have better plans for him. But I just think it's weird. Like I've never really been into the Bobby Roode thing. I knew him a little bit from TNA, and his gimmick was that he's rich.
Beer money.
Yeah, he was the one with the money, and the other guy had beer. But now he's just like, to me, he's like Triple H Jr. Not only because he looks a lot like just a mini version of Triple H, also because like he's like a Muppet Babies version of Evolution. Like he wears the Ric Flair robe, comes out looking like Triple H, and he completely changed his gimmick because of a theme song that was designed for someone else. Like that was originally supposed to be Shinsuke Nakamura's theme song. Just like imagine how different everything would be if that was the case. And then they decided to give it to him, and he changed everything about himself for that. So you could never even change his song unless you did like a remix version. But yeah, so that's weird. So maybe they can see how thin his character is, much like Apollo Crews, and they're just like, we don't really have any plans for him, so let's just have him do this, and then we're gonna completely forget about him soon. We will see. We will see. But I do like how they turned the SmackDown after SummerSlam basically into the Raw after WrestleMania. It's just like, you know what? We're going to do all the stuff that we would normally do on a post-Mania show on this show. We're not going to do it on Raw. We're going to do it on SmackDown, which is an interesting way to go with it.
You think Asuka's going to be on Raw when her injury is healed?
Possibly, but like it's just like with Bobby Roode, and a lot of people have been saying this, like one of the worst things you can do for an NXT person now is to call them up. It's just like how it goes downhill from there. So like she was an undefeated monster who never lost her title.
What a waste of like that was such a like they spent all that time building that title up and like creating that mystique of her invincibility, and then
then nobody gets that rub. I mean, you can't time that out. You can't predict those things, but maybe they should have like let her rehab and then get beat.
Yeah,
so you could put somebody over like Ember Moon or whatever. Ember sparks of flame. But you know, they decided to go this way with it. I mean, but I guess that's one way to do it if you're going to book her strong on the main roster. Like, hey, this is a person who never lost her championship, but you know she's going to get beat on the main roster probably fairly soon. So that's going to be disappointing that they completely ruined all of that mystique. Although I think that was the one thing, I don't know if this was confirmed or not, but I think this was the one thing they said. Triple H, he said this is the one thing he's never letting Vince get his hands on is Asuka. Which, like, I'm hopeful that that's the case, but that also makes me think like maybe he's just never gonna call her up, because I feel like that's the only way to keep her safe, like keep her on your show. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look at what Shinsuke, what he's done with Shinsuke.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff is blamed on Vince, but I feel like nobody has any other say. Like Triple H doesn't have any say on the main
Michael
roster
Haynes,
at all.
Road Dogg.
Road Dogg is a actual creative person. Like, why? Who thought that was a good idea? Like,
Fucking Triple H.
Yeah, obviously, it's like the Stooges have been replaced with Degeneration X, and they're none the better for it.
Nope.
Anyway,
That's all I heard.
yeah. So with
I'm
that,
done.
how can people reach out to you during the week on social media to tweet various memes, gifs, and other internet garbage your way?
And then be blocked and muted. At Anthony Hoffman on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook, Anthony Hoffman, as Anthony Hoffman. And on Instagram, Tony Hoffman Chai, Tony Hoffman CHI.
And I'm on the Twitter at Zach Reviews. That's ZAC Reviews. It's a play on words because my name is Zachary Hughes, but Zach Reviews sounds like it. Anyway, also I have a YouTube channel, and it is youtube.com/Zach Hughes. That's ZAC Hughes. You can also search Zach Hughes on Facebook and Zach Hughes on Instagram. Or it would be easier if you typed in Instagram.com/ZH Radio or just search ZH Radio on Instagram, but do it however you want. You can find the podcast on Twitter at Frustrated Grad. You can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/frustratedgrads. That's where you can see the video version of this podcast. It's also on my YouTube channel as well. And you can hear the audio version on iTunes, Google Play Podcasts, Stitcher, Player.fm. And if it's not on your podcatcher of choice, then email me at frustratedgrad@gmail.com and I'll see about getting us listed there. If you like what we're doing, go to iTunes and hit that 5-star and tell us, hey, these guys are funny. Or, hey, you guys suck, but still do 5 stars even if you want to say we suck. Just
they talk about too much black stuff.
It's too black, too poop centric, and I associate those things with each other, and because I'm a racist. Anyway, if you really like what we're doing, then go to frustratedgrad.com and donate by clicking that PayPal button. With that, I would say that's it for this edition of the Frustrated Grad podcast. Stay tuned, audio listeners, for a bonus exclusive, but for the video listeners, that's it. Thanks for watching, and that's all you get for today.